Page 53, sweet and low. We're not introducing anything new here, but I think the music's getting more involved. We need control over the fingers well. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's look it over. It's 1 page long, treble and bass clef, 6/8 times. So an eighth note is still getting a count. Means that dotted quarter note is going to get 3 counts. Hopefully you understand 6/8 time rhythm by now. No sharps or flats in the key signature. We're in the key of C major. See, with no sharps or flats, you're either in C major or A minor. Which is it? Well, I look at the end. This is it. That's C major. I'm guessing C major because A minor sounds different. So this is C major. Go do the scales for C major and A minor. 1 octave up and down. Actually, at this point, if you've been doing the scales like I've been asking you to, you can start doing 2 octaves, but make sure you're doing the trill exercise now. But if you haven't been doing the scales, then 1 octave is good enough. Just learn the scale. Let's take it one hand at a time and see. We got accidentals all over the place. They want a 2-1. You don't have to. You can do both of those with thumb if you want. You don't have to use different fingers on repeated notes. It's just good to be able to. It's good practice. But I'm just going to use thumb on both. And then the second finger here. So I can connect them. And then 1, 3. And then a 2. And then lift up. The thumb's got to come down. 3, 1. We crossed over. Second line is here. It's the same notes as above, but different rhythm. And then here. Now in the second measure, the second line, instead of 2, 4, I'm going to say 2, 3. Come up. This way we can get to the next measure a little more easily. See, the thumb comes under for here, and just reach up for 5. You're right there. Here, and then for the last measure, instead of this, in the last note of the next to the last measure, here, instead of 3, use 4, here, and that way you can use 2, 3, and then a 1, and connect them all. So the second line's a little weird. Let's go through that again, very carefully. It's here, and then here, like in the first line, and then again, now 2, 3, and then a 1, 5, and then a 4, and 2, 3, and a 1. That's fine. Now you have 1 beat rest at the end of the second line. So your thumb comes down 1, and they want 1 and 3. No, 1 and 2, and then you come down here. You got to hold the dotted quarter note down though. And the thumb comes down. Hold it down. And if your hand is big enough, here, this third line down, second measure. If your hand's big enough, you do a 2, 4. If it isn't big enough, then you may have to do, you should be able to do a 4 here anyway, regardless of how big your hand is. You need to be able to play the notes with any adjacent fingers, any fingers next to with 1 note in between. You need to be able to stretch it that far. Here, or these 2, or these 2, or these 2, any 2 fingers, just with 1 note. So you should be able to do a 4. So it's, and if you can reach the 2, that's fine. Otherwise, you got to use the thumb. And then again, thumb again. Your thumb's doing it all. This is if you have little hands. If your hand's big enough, do a 2, 4, and then 1. I can connect them all that way. And then going on, they say 1, 3 again. I'm going to stay here for the end of the third line. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to use 2, 3, 5. And hold the F down, and then here, this way. Just did it again. And then going on, this is the fourth line down, second measure. Make sure you hold the G sharp down. It's a, and then here. Now that last measure of this fourth line down, you're here. To here, you can do a 1, 2, and connect that. Or if you want, you just cross over the thumb. Use it as a pivot. You cross over and do a 2, 4. But you can't connect this. You connect that. And the only reason I'm connecting that is I'm using it as my anchor point to help me know where I am. I'll leave it up to you as to which finger you use. The pedal will help us connect the notes, but I'm trying to connect them as best I can anyway. I can't connect both notes very easily without getting a little more involved. I don't want to do that right now. So we're just going to go here. So here, and whatever fingering you want for the last note, I'm going to go here. And this way I'm ready to go on. Then the last line, remember, hold these notes down, the dotted quarter notes. And at the end, the second measure, that is, here, do a 2, 1. Here. Hold that down, and then here. Now the top note, the last two made, that top note is tied. Hold it down as you do that. So this is a little tricky in the right hand. This is good exercise, good finger control going on here. Left hand, let's see what's going on here. We got broken chords at the beginning. Connect them all, of course. You don't need the natural sign in that second measure. It's an F natural anyway, but they gave you an F sharp in the first measure. They're being clear. However, most publishers will not give you a natural sign here. You have to know that's an F natural. And then a 4, 1, 2. If you can, on the last two measures, the first line, go over and do a 3 here. So you can do a 4, 1, and 2 here, like so. So do a 3, not a 2, and a 4, 1. And that G's tied in that last measure. So hold it down. But you have a slur line on the G and you have a slur line above. This is an example of how the slur line is used for different things. Because the slur line underneath, that's a tie. You tie them together. The slur line above is a slur. You connect them. So they mean different things. And then you got a slur line above it. Well, that's the phrase. We'll get to the phrases later. So the line is being used for different things, and you got to figure out what it's used for. Here, just here. And then during the rest, you come down and do it again. And the second measure, second line, it's F sharp again. And they do need the sharp sign here because remember, the accidental is only good for that measure and that staff. So it's a new measure. You got to have you cross over, and then. Last two measures, second line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little weird, but that's what they wanted. And then that D is tied into the next measure, so you're just adding the C to it. And then you do, if you can, do a 3, 2. So you're connecting them. Here, and then you let that up. So the last two measures, the second line, you're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rest. Going on. 1, 2. Just I'm staying in that spot. Now you in third line down, second measure. You can use a 5, 4 if you want, or 4, 3. So I'll leave it up to you as to what you do. 5, 4, or 4, 3. But in the next measure, make that a 2. 2, 3. And again, same thing. And this fourth line down, second measure, you can use 3 on that first note if you want. Just reach up. 2. That's all. You're sort of in that position. And again, the rhythm is different. This is the fourth line down, second measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the next measure, it's here. And that C's tied. Hang on to it. Just add the F sharp to it as third finger. So, and the reason it's third is so we're a little closer to the next measure. It's a C. Here. Last two measures, because they're spread out so much, you're pretty much stuck with doing that. And then just come out, hold the C down. It's dotted half note gets 6 counts here, so it's the whole measure. Just slide off, and then 2 here. And if you can, you would hold the G down, and while you go down and do the C, although unless you got super big hands, you can't do that. You got to move. So we let the pedal help us out there. So once you kind of have an idea what each hand is doing, then we attempt to put them together. Now I'm going to hesitate all over. I don't care. I just want to know which fingers are going down together. So at the beginning, we're here, here, these, and then here, and then here, there, and then here. These are together, and then there. The G's tied. Then during the rest, lift up. Second line, last two measures. Here, that, and then here, and then here. The D's tied now, here, here, here. So the notes are going down at different times here, and you got ties in there. So you go through very carefully and slowly and just gradually work it out. Now, if it's proving to be a struggle, imagine that. Just take it like a phrase or so at a time, or a line at a time. Like at the beginning, see if you can get the first two measures here. See if you can get that much. And then you take the next one, the next two measures. So just take it like a couple measures at a time, go over and over and over, and slowly work out the notes. And once you have the notes kind of worked out, then you go back over it again a few hundred times and slowly work out the hesitations. So it's a steady beat throughout. And once you have that worked out, then we think about the articulation, which it's very connected. Lift up, lift up, lift. Well, you have to lift up at the end of the line. It's a rest, but just lift up in the right hand between the phrases, and the left hand, try and connect it as best you can. You can't always, but do what you can. Even when you're lifting up in the right, still try and connect the left hand. For instance, in the first line, going from the second measure to the third measure, here, here, lifting up for the breath, and the left hand I'm connecting. So it's lifting up here, but I'm connecting that. So again, the second measure, I'm lifting up here with that. At the end of the line, you have a rest, both hands come up. But try and connect this left hand as best you can all the way through. Then once you have an idea of that, then we think about the dynamics. P is soft, piano, that's the melody. Whatever you think soft is, the left hand's got to be in the background, very softly. Very soft. And if you can develop the control, and this takes time, I can ask you to start, although this is a challenging piece anyway. When you're playing multiple notes in the same hand, and one note is melody, can you bring that out? Here. That's what we want to hear. Can you play the other notes softly? I'm putting more weight on the melody note. So I've got two notes down in the first measure, here. This one is where you're soft, so you're light, but the other note is very light. So there's very little weight on the other note. Most of it's on the melody note. And then again, most of the weight's on the melody. I'm just leaning more toward the melody note, and the other note's very light. This takes time to get that control. But go ahead and start. You just well start working on that. You're doing everything else. Now, if you find this a challenging piece, then forget this. We'll do it at another time. But if you're getting this pretty well, think about bringing out the melody, even when the hand has more notes in it than one. Look at the third line here. See, this is, you're holding it down, but that's not melody. You want the very light. I want to hear that. That's what I want to hear. So I want to hear the melody note. Now, I've been doing this for a million years, so it's a little easier for me. But it takes time. It was a struggle for me at first, but you just keep at it. Now they don't give any other dynamic to speak of. Until you get to the bottom, you get PP for pianissimo, which is very soft. So now you're very soft. Everything else is super soft. I mean, really super soft. Don't use the soft pedal. That's cheating. You learn to do this with the hands and the fingers. You're very light here is all. Then we think about the speed. Moderato e espressivo. Isn't that a mouthful? Well, moderato means somewhere in the middle, and that's the overall feel of it. It's not the speed of the beat. It's a 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3. To me, that's about moderato. E espressivo means with expression and expressively, and that's interpretation. Once you get past the mechanics, and you get into the music, and you start expressing, you feel in the music, that's expressivo. Until then, don't worry about it. Put in the natural accents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Put in the natural accents. I forced them so you can hear them better, but you just want to feel these. And the left hand, keep it down. I mean, there is a natural accent on the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. But keep it in the background. Now on top of all that, they've added pedal. Well, in this particular piece, the pedal is nice because it helps us connect things and it adds the overtones. This is not a real fast piece. We have time to hear everything. We'd like to color the notes. So the pedal's going to allow us to do that. But we have to be careful because we don't want to smear it up. So at the beginning or throughout here, I'm going to push the notes down first and then the pedal. And when I change the pedal, it's going to be after I play the notes. So the pedal is going to lag behind or overlap the notes just a speck. You can't do much overlap because then you hear it. It's got to be just a speck. That way you are assured to have sound throughout. So if you lift up the pedal too soon, you might lose. You say, so we overlap the pedal just a speck so we know we've got sound coming. Unless there's a rest and you gotta lift up. So at the beginning, I'm pushing the notes down first and then the pedal. And I'm gonna change the pedal right after I play the notes. If I want to hear the phrasing, I gotta lift the pedal up with the right hand. But I'm holding the left hand down, I'm connecting that. Again. And I'm not pedaling the third measure, I don't want to smear it. Last measure the first line, I pedal the first one, and then lift up right after I play the second one. And then the second line, same thing. That's sort of the pedaling throughout. It's okay. You can follow their pedaling, it's pretty good. The fermata in the last measure here, that note, hold that out for as long as it feels right, and then die away. If I do it with a metronome, I'll hold that for 6 counts instead of 3 and then die away. That's up to you. You're so soft here, you can use that fade out pedal I taught you earlier. I don't know that it's really called a fade out pedal, it's sort of what I call it. And that is because you're really soft here in the last measure. Here, I want to fade away. So what I'm going to do is lift the keys up. I'll keep my hands on the keyboard. I lift the keys up. And then I slowly lift the pedal, and the hammers slowly touch the strings so the sound slowly dies away. If you get buzzing or something, you need to have your piano tuner technician person check your dampers. There should be no buzzing on the dampers on this. If you have an electronic piano and your piano doesn't do that, some do, some don't, you can always reach up to the volume control and just slowly turn it down too. That works. Whatever it takes to make the sound die away. You don't want to be here at the end all nice and gentle like, and then all of a sudden, nothing. That's like an accent. It's like, no. There's no retard at the end or nothing, but again, if you feel a little retard, you put it in. Don't retard too much because then it just drags. You don't want it to drag. You're just slowing down a little bit. Don't copy me, please. If I played this 10 times, I'd play it different every single time because I play by feel, and it's how I get louder in places. I tend to feel these swells in places. Put them in if you're feeling them. Let's play this together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics and play everything about the same. I'm going to pedal it as I suggested, at least I've tried to. So I'll give us 6 counts and let's try it out. The fermatus, well, in the next to the last line at the end, I'm going to hold that out 6 counts instead of 3. I just double it because I got to stay with the metronome. And at the end, again, that note, I'll hold it for 6 counts instead of 3. So I'll give us 6 counts, so let's try it. 1, ready, go. 3, 4, 5, rest. 2, 3, 1, 2, rest. 3. 2, 3. 3, 6. Hold. 2. Go on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Off.